Sean Hutchins. I play guitar a little bit, yeah.
Paul Campbell, lead singer of the Downtown Blues Band.
Rick Hutchins, musician.
Founder of the Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival. How long has that evening train been gone? How long, baby, how long? I looked up on the mountain, looked as far as I could see. The man had my woman, and the blues had me. How long, baby, how long? How long has that evening train been gone? How long, baby, how long?
I'm originally from Montreal. I came here to go to university. And as I was finishing up my career at UMB, I'd already started playing with Paul in the Downtown Blues Band. And man, there were no venues for live music left in Fredericton. When I was going to university, it was Riverview Arms, there was the Keg, there was all these great places, lots of great maritime music, and it just dissipated, just wasn't there. And so I remembered actually from growing up in Montreal that we had a really, really kick-ass jazz festival. And it was really just started out as an idea, but just got a group of probably 7 or 8 people together and started talking about what it would be like if we could do something in Fredericton. And we came up with time of year, had to be at harvest time. That was the right time of year. We came up with a theme that had to be a balance between jazz and blues because we had a lot of folks that loved the jazz as much as the blues. And we were dedicated to try and pull that off with that in mind. So from the very beginning, we needed a cornerstone on the blues side, and I already had a relationship with Dutchie Mason. And he hadn't been in Fredericton in 6 years. Hard to believe, but he hadn't even been in Fredericton 6 years. So I got a hold of Dutchie, he says, I'm in. So we had a cornerstone for the blues, and then the jazz side was a little bit more interesting. We had a lady on our organizing committee, her name was Carol Cole, and she's Holly Cole's mother. And Carol at the time was actually working in Fredericton, was running, what was it she's running? Was it the museum?
Yep.
Yeah, the New Brunswick Sports, was it Sports Hall of Fame? She was running a museum downtown. And she came to one of the first meetings, she says, I can get my sister to come. I said, your sister? She said, I mean my daughter. And I looked at her, and I didn't even know who her daughter was. And she says, Holly Cole. And everyone just sort of, their jaw dropped. Really? She said, yeah. So we were able to get Holly, we were able to get Dutchie, and then the rest of it was just like an organizational dream come true. It all worked. It was like serendipity. It worked. People came out, Fredericton embraced it, and of course the rest is history. But I have to say honestly, it was serendipity. It was serendipity.
Once I lived the life of a millionaire. Spent all my money, I did not care. Took all my friends out for a mighty good time. Bought bootleg whiskey, champagne and wine.
But then I began to fall so low. Lost all my good friends took all my friends out for a mighty good time. Bought bootleg whiskey, champagne and wine.
Nobody knows you when you're down and out, and in your pocket is not one penny. And as for friends, well, you don't have any.
Actually, there were two things. I mean, one was the need to have live music, period. I mean, it just wasn't happening, right? And so it was really hurting the local bands, like the Downtown Blues Band, and other bands that just wanted to play. But the venues weren't there, and the bars were struggling because there was a real transfer, right? We just survived disco, right? Also, like, there was a real transfer in terms of what was going on with the bar business. So the bars were actually a cornerstone in the beginning to make it happen. In the first year, every bar in downtown Fredericton embraced it and brought in the music. And in the first year, we only had one tent. The rest of it was the bars that actually made it happen. And then from there, of course, it grew. And then in the second and third year, as the whole thing started to get bigger and bigger and tents came into play, then there was fear from the bars that it might take away their business. It's crazy. I mean, it's never stopped, right? It's never stopped. It's just more and more business for everybody. And so now all the bars have bands during the festival. And it has definitely spawned a whole generation of new musicians that have been able to play music. And I do believe Harvest had a lot to do with that. Absolutely.
Nobody knows you when you're down and out.
And that's pretty interesting that you guys started it from a grassroots movement. And of course things change. But the original reason for this to begin was really a grassroots motivation.
So that's the critical factor. The critical factor is lots of people start good ideas. There's lots of little festivals that pop up here and there, and some of them last, some of them don't. The ones that last have a good business model. And that's what happened to Harvest. I mean, I give all the credit to Brent Staven and David Seabrook and the ones who sort of came afterwards, that if they were going to hold it every year, it had to become, it had to be run efficiently, and it had to be accountable to the bottom line, accountable to the community. And eventually what happened was, in a very short period of time, 5 or 6 years, it became sustainable. And your question is accurate. I would get calls from Moncton, from St. John. They all tried it, didn't they? They all tried something like that. And then they go, why didn't ours work? And I'd say, you didn't have that original groundswell, and you didn't have the business model to follow it up. And believe it or not, I mean, a lot of what you're doing with this documentary, whether it's the Capitol Complex, and a lot of them, they got to run good businesses. And they've got to be efficient, they got to respond to the community, and they do. And that's what Harvest did. That's what made it, that's why I use the word serendipitous, because when we started, we had no idea, none whatsoever in the very first year that it would ever become what it has become. But we did know that Fredericton wanted it and Fredericton would support it. And the rest moves from there. But there is a real trick to making it work, and that is to start with a good idea, get the right people on board, do what your community wants, and then run it so that it's sustainable.
I got the key to the highway, built up and bound to go. When I leave this town, 'cause walking is way too slow. I'm going back to the country, back where I belong. No, you ain't done nothing, chase a good man away from home. Give me one more kiss, mama, just before I go. When I leave this time, I won't be coming back no more.
And I think that your fingerprint has etched itself on what you said is cultivating a respect for music and a love for music. And it's almost what makes it so special here is that you can tell that it's almost in people's blood now.
Eventually, we're able to be headliners at Harvest before they ever became really, really big elsewhere. The Rising Star competition, all of that was actually based on a commitment to maintain the music year-round by supporting local artists. That's where you look at someone like Paul, Downtown Blues Band, every single year has played that festival, every single year. And that's the roots of it, actually. And a lot of people I know tell me they look forward to that show, amongst others. So I think that component of it, it really speaks to what you were saying about what's a roots type of thing. And I think I'm seeing it with other festivals that are coming up now that I'm just a huge fan of. We got to play Folly Fest this year. You know, we were honored to be able to do it. People that played so many years, but I just looked at that and I said, this is going to keep growing. This is going to be great. It's just happening. And it's well organized, and the artists love it, and that's where it goes. It starts from there.